All right, so let's go over the final paper. That way you'll have a few weeks to work on it and everybody will just do their own individual papers. I'll put a Dropbox up for the last week. Um, so I'm just going to go over what I have in the syllabus, but we can talk about the paper. So as you go through the syllabus, you'll see an assignment for videotape or live client role play. You don't have to do that. You don't have enough time to do it in the summer. So that's why you're doing the discussion posts in more detail, because we had to remove that one video assignment. It's a fun one, but it takes a lot of time. All right, so your final assignment, do the last week of last class, basically. Um, So just try to have it in before the last Thursday of class, because I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about your paper informally. It doesn't have to be a speech or a prepared presentation. I just want to hear a little bit of what you did in your paper, share it with your classmates. Um, it should be interesting. So nothing formal, just a couple minutes. So I did lower the amount of pages as well. It's only 4 to 5 typed content pages. And, by that, if it's APA style, that just means you'll have 4 to 5 content pages and you'll have a title page, abstract, and references. So that's a total of 7 to 8 pages, but 4 to 5 content pages. Follow all the regular, guidelines for APA. Um, the one thing I don't want is for you to cut and paste the entire write-up from the DSM, because that's 2 or 3 pages right there for the diagnosis. Um, so, you know, when you're talking about criteria and making your diagnosis, don't just cut and paste the whole criteria into your paper. Just discuss the criteria. I'd rather see examples of the criteria than the whole criteria written out. Just the basics of the criteria and how they fit with an example. That's more important. So there is an outline here, A, B, C, D, and just follow the outline in your paper. So A, the assessment. Um, so you're going to kind of give me an intro to some character. It can be a cartoon, it could be anime, it could be a superhero, it could be a Disney movie, it could be a character in a television show, a book, a play, any any character that you want. The only thing I ask is don't pick somebody who's already been diagnosed in the book or television show or movie. Pick somebody that doesn't already have a diagnosis. I want you to make the diagnosis. Um, okay, so you're going to go through the basic assessment. I gave you an example of an assessment in the notes. Um, and I know the assessment could be your entire paper, 4 to 5 type pages. But we're looking at like 1 page assessment, and at the end, the diagnosis. And the diagnosis is not using the axes or the GAF. I just put that in there because that's the old way of doing it. Your diagnosis is going to be the code numbers in the DSM, the name of the diagnosis, any subtypes. You might have like a subtype for the diagnosis, and the severity, if there is a severity. So for instance, there's, bipolar, and then there's different types, subtypes of bipolar. And you know, you could talk about the severity of it. So really that's 3 sentences at the most, maybe. Part three or C is the criteria. And the main thing I want you to provide for the criteria is examples of how they meet the criteria in their life. So give me an example of how they fit the criteria in their life. So, that's about 2.5 pages, maybe, A, B, and C. And then D is a treatment plan. And so the rest of the paper should be some type of treatment. And that's where your research is going to come in. So far, you didn't have to do any research to assess or diagnose or look at the criteria. It's all in the DSM. And but the treatment, that's where you're going to have to do a little research and figure out, do you want to use a certain theory? Do you want to use multiple theories or treatment models? What would treatment look like? How long would treatment last? What would happen with sessions or certain techniques? Um, so you're always going to find treatment using CBT. They applied CBT to everything, and you can use CBT. But I also encourage you to look at other treatments as well. So, you know, uh, try to give a couple different options for treatment, um, not just CBT. Uh, I can tell you CBT works for, irrational thoughts, but for some of the deeper diagnoses, the more severe diagnoses, you're probably want to go beyond CBT. Um, so, you know, a little bit about the theories applied to, don't just give me a write-up on the theory. That's theories class. Find a couple articles that have applied the theory to the diagnosis of your character. So everything you're going to write is going to be applied to your character and to the diagnosis. All right. And yeah, and then some references. It says, please use at minimum 3 references from professional referee journals. That's basically any psychology or counseling journal from our library. All right, questions about the paper?
So for our character, if there is some sort of information or like background that we don't know, can we make it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the characters, you will know the background. Most superheroes have the background. Most Disney characters have some background. Um, but there may be a movie out there that you want to use that starts at adulthood, and that's okay. You can make up a background. What else? All right, that's the paper. Try to try to submit it before the last class, before that Thursday, and we're going to just share it informally with your classmates. Tell me a little bit about your character. Hey, it might be somewhat, you know, diagnoses aren't that funny, but hey, depends on what character you pick, you know? So it might be an interesting character. Uh yeah, I think that's about it. And then yeah, it's informal. You're just going to share a little bit about your character, your paper, your treatment. I mainly want your classmates to hear about some of the treatments you found for some of these diagnoses. All right.